Ayo, my name is Big Lou, and you are now listening to Go Produce. We're the show that explores how music industry professionals turn their passions into profit. If you feel like the odds are stacked against you, but you know you've got what it takes, then this episode is for you. Thank you, Factor, for funding part of this initiative. The theme of today's episode is, what are some of the life lessons of a solo artist after an atypical, explosive launch? Today's guest is Miss Fallon Bowman. She's a musician born in Cape Town, South Africa, of Dutch and Indonesian descent, but is a musician from London, Ontario, best known for her involvement in Kittie, a Canadian heavy metal band formed in London, Ontario in the 1990s when she was 14 years old, taking her worldwide. A true anomaly of her time. She left Kittie in 2001 and did some of her work with Pigface and also as a solo artist under the name Amphibious Assault, as well as her own name. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Fallon Bowman.
Hello, hello, hello.
We're here. We made it. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to know that we do.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we do appreciate your time, so let's make the most of it and go produce.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. The first segment that we got today is called The Basics.
The Basics. Cool.
I hope you like to dance. We're going to be dancing for a little bit.
I really do.
Okay, awesome. What we're going to be doing...
That's how I do.
That's how you do?
That's how I do.
Okay,
yeah.
we might have a couple dance battles. We'll see.
Nice.
Spontaneous.
I'm down for it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Before we get into the dancing, I want to do the basics. And what the basics is essentially get to know you on a more personal level, what you've done, where you come from, and what we want to do moving forward. Cool?
Sure thing. So who am I? Are you going to ask me the questions?
I've got better questions. It's not just a boring, broad.
You're just like, here, go for it.
No.
Like, I don't know who I am.
He seems unprofessional, but he sometimes knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I do my homework. I'm trying to make this exciting for you as much as possible.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm glad.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I'm going to get a couple of, that's a good question, I bet. Watch.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Beautiful. Well, let's start out with, what's your first musical memory?
First musical memory is probably crying.
I have not heard that response yet. Okay.
Crying, not the song, sorry. Crying to, what is it called? I think it's called Touched by an Angel, something like that, by the Eurythmics.
Wow.
That was like my first, one of my first is crying to that song and being very, very moved. And I young, very young.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Do you perhaps remember what the environment was? Why it touched you so much?
Not a clue. The angel. It was the angel that just.
I mean, it makes sense.
Must be talking to an angel. That's what it is. That's it. You know what song I'm talking about, though, right?
Yes. Of course. Okay. I can't sing it. Don't ask me to sing. We might get to sing it, but
I won't. We'll fill in the blanks in our minds.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. And do you think you were influenced to pursue music more so because of that experience, or it was just a nice memory that you have?
I mean, I can't say that it was a nice memory because I don't know what prompted being so.
That's a good point.
Was it the music that moved me, or was it the, which I'm leaning more towards, or was it the situation, which I don't remember?
Yeah.
But I just remember sitting, and this was in South Africa, so this was a long time ago, and like hearing it and just being so moved by it. But in terms of, I mean, maybe it predisposed me to liking very sad kind of music, I guess.
Yeah.
Sad, depressing music. Like
even just realizing perhaps at such an early age, the power that music can have to move someone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many times can we say that that's happened to us, right? Where you're listening to something, you're like, ooh, wow, that's heavy.
Yeah.
And
it feels like you were supposed to have listened to it at that specific moment in time.
Like being 5 years old and being like,
I still cry, whatever. Absolutely.
Totally.
What was the first lesson that the industry has taught you?
Read the fine print. That's always a good one. And also ask a lot of questions is I think one of the lessons now that I look back retroactively, like looking back, I should have asked more questions, because a lot of the time I think I didn't and just assumed that everybody had my best interests at heart, which isn't always the case. Just, advocate for yourself and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely read the fine print as well as ask questions. Very important. and advocate for yourself. Those are my main lessons.
Do you have specific examples? You don't have to give us like the actual detail, but like, where can an artist find themselves going down a path where they might not be asking the right questions, or I'm not? A scenario, perhaps.
Sometimes it's not super, as artists, I feel like it can be very unsexy sometimes to be concerned with the business aspect of it, because it is kind of daunting. All we want to do is create music. All we want to do is create just stuff to move people, like I was moved by Annie Lennox. And, you know, dealing with contracts and dealing with all that stuff isn't sexy, but it's absolutely vital that you can I swear on here?
Do what you got to do.
Okay. That you give a shit about. You just have to. Because at the end of the day, you know, you will have people in your corner, but you are your own advocate, your best advocate.
Yeah.
So anybody that I tell that, you know, talk to that's going into the industry, like what's something that you wish that you had done more, you know, is certainly reading everything and giving a shit about it and not thinking that, you know, I can just coast through it and nothing bad is going to happen. But like that, the nature of the beast is that, you know, you have to be on it. Right?
Involved,
you know,
at least.
Got to be involved. You got to be,
understand the lingo.
Understand the lingo. So important, because you're just like, I get it. Yeah, but you don't. You ask questions. Like, ask the questions. No matter how stupid you feel that those questions are, ask them. And
you're gonna feel more stupider. Oh, I'm feeling stupider. You're gonna feel less intelligent if you don't ask the questions in the long run. So do yourself the favor right then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you're like, okay, you know, page whatever says this, what does that actually mean for? And the other important thing I think is, if you don't understand something and in the meeting, or if you're in a meeting, let's say, I'm just saying hypothetically, find somebody who can answer those questions for you. You know, a mentor or whoever, just reach out to somebody, be like, hey, so this is something that's happened. Or someone approached me for this. Can you take a look? And it doesn't have to be a lawyer. Well, it should probably be a lawyer, but at any rate, in terms of specifics, it's certainly, you know, being so young was a bit of a disadvantage, because naturally that you defer to the adults around you, and think that their advice perhaps is the best, when really, you know, people can think they know the best for you when really it isn't, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
So it's really just about educating yourself as much as you can, and I don't know, seeking out the information that you need to make the most informed decision.
Do you have any specific locations or resources where you would recommend people to go?
Oh, that's a good one. See, there you go. Yeah, I knew you'd get there. I consulted a lot of like books on the music industry, general music business books, as well as particularly ones written either by entertainment lawyers or those sorts of things, because they know, those were specific. The ones that I read were like, you know, everything you need to know about the music business, which wasn't written by a lawyer, but regardless, those ones were specific to the US, but I mean, more or less kind of the same in Canada as well. So definitely books were, at the time, if we're talking, you know, back in the day, mostly books. Yeah. In terms of resources now, oh my God, I don't even know. I feel like there's probably a plethora of places that you could go to get that kind of information. In terms of specifics now, I probably should, but
even in today's day and age, I'd recommend books still. Yeah, because the ideas, they're concentrated.
Yes.
You can get the full idea.
I guess they're updated, or because things are also changing so much. And I'm also finding, even just now, navigating the industry now versus when I was kind of doing it more, professionally, what does that even mean? But like, you know, touring and doing all that other stuff, like
more in it.
I was more in it at the time. It's certainly that the business is completely different now. But yeah, books are still my go-to.
Books, yeah, for sure. I have to agree with you. Beautiful, Fallon. We're going to wrap up the basics. We've got our next segment now. Next segment is called What's Yo Take?
Oh, I thought they said, what's your cake? I love cake.
I'm not going to play any sounds until I get satisfaction for that terrible...
Satisfaction is not guaranteed. You should know this.
Oh, man.
What's your take?
What's your cake?
We need to get some cake in here after.
Honestly, let's do it.
I'm not against it. Before we start talking about cakes.
Trying to run a show here. Come on.
Okay, so What's Your Take is essentially me throwing 3 semi-ridiculous perspectives at you, and I want your take on it.
Oh,
cool.
Okay, cool.
The band Kittie was an anomaly of its time. What are your thoughts on this?
I wouldn't say an anomaly, but so much as a representation of, or a continuation of other girl groups and filling basically a hole where there wasn't any before. And I would argue that has not been since. There have not been, not tooting my own horn here, but I guess I am. There have not been
something similar to what you did.
Has not been, absolutely not. I agree. Yeah.
Did you at the time realize what you were doing?
No.
That's very cool.
Not at all. We were just like doing our thing.
It just felt normal, like it should.
People are like, so did you notice that you guys are female? Did you know that? I'm like,
you're not
hey, you don't
really allowed to.
What are you trying to say? Like, what do you want me to say? Like, okay, yeah, I know. I know. Why do you remind me?
That's true. When did you find that it became real after you started initially the band forming?
I think it was when I started meeting people that I had idolized up until that point. So
cool.
I think the weirdest situation, or the most, I guess it wasn't necessarily starstruck as it is like, okay, wow, I got to take a step back. We were playing a very large festival in Europe, which is like basically any band that's touring at that time plays this festival. It's called Rock am Ring in Rock am Park in Germany.
Okay.
So one of the headliners was Slayer, I think Slayer and Korn and Deftones and like all the major new metal and kind of old school metal as well.
Yeah.
When I came into the tent, there was a bunch of people standing there, guys. So it was the guys from Korn, guys from Slayer, just sitting around shooting the shit, talking. And I stopped and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should like, you know. And then they're like, hey, Kittie girl.
Whoa.
It's like,
whoa. Oh come on.
And I think that it was clear that they knew who I was and who, you know, but they had also, I guess, watched our set too. And then it made me think like, oh my God, did we play well? Did we fuck up? And at that point it didn't really even matter.
It didn't matter. It was done.
Yeah,
you did what you had to do.
It was over, and they gave me well, it was more like this as opposed to like this. Like,
come on, let's be real. Exactly. Yeah. I do not see Korn doing that.
yeah. It was more like chill, you know.
Nice job. Keep it up.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. Did you find that you had specific challenges that your male counterparts would not have had during the times of starting up?
Oh, for sure. Because again, it was the same sort of thing where people would ask questions about how you feel as a woman in this industry and how you feel. Just those questions that we had never thought and had never, like, you wouldn't have asked a band like Slayer or a band like, because it wasn't a thing, but you are like this weird unicorn that we don't know what to do with. Or, you know, not me, but you guys are. Yeah. And so, I'm like, why are you even asking that question? Like, you're not asking our male counterparts those questions because it's like, you know, it's just the way it is.
Do you think it was almost amplified because of the genre you were in?
I think so, as well as the age. We were very, very young too. So that also had something to do with it as well. People were not worried, but a little bit concerned. They're like, so you're so young and you're female amongst all of these old men. Yeah. And I mean, there is some merit to being a little bit concerned. But like, I mean, it was fine. Yeah. But I felt that was certainly because of the genre. I don't know, maybe if it had been pop music, or I don't know, punk, or maybe punk, it wouldn't necessarily been such an issue, but something that was focused upon.
Right.
But metal for sure.
Yeah. Cool. While in Kittie, were you involved in the writing process?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes.
Is that something that you enjoyed doing more so than the rest, or?
I think it's interesting too, because a lot of the songs that we did on the first record were written when we were very, very young. I'd say 12 or 13. So those songs first of all, had been kind of refined for already 2 years coming into it. So, refined was as refined as they would be as a child, essentially.
Fair.
So, coming into it, we had a lot of time to kind of tweak and do things too. But then I found that when it became a business, when you're like, okay, you have 2 weeks to write an entire record, go. That part I didn't like so much, because of course, as an artist, we want to have as much time as we want to sort of, mold it and make it something gorgeous and the best record ever made and whatever. When your record label and your whoever is saying like, okay, you're going to tour for a year. Oh no, you're going to tour for 2 years, and then you're going to have 1 month off to write the next record, and then you got to do
Go back.
that. And I was like,
wow. Okay, so when you got thrown into the write the record in the 2 week period, how did that writing process go? Were all the members include? Was it specific members? What happened there?
It was, like for the second one, it wasn't. We were tired, I think, at that point. And I don't want to speak for the other girls. I'll speak for myself.
That's fair.
But we had been touring now at that point for about 2 years ish. We were tired, and we were like, okay, now what do we want to do? What do we want to do next? What do we want to explore? And at the time, I had been listening to like a lot of industrial music. So more Nine Inch Nails, more Ministry, more like, so I was very much onto the kind of adding a little bit of electronic elements and stuff. And so we talked about how we can sort of marry all of our different influences. Because at the time when we wrote the first one, we were all listening to the same music, like without a doubt. And then going in the second one, it was a little bit different. And we found that very hard to amalgamate all of it. So we would come to every single day to our writing sessions and be like, so what do you want to do? It's like, I'm just tired, dude.
Sleep.
I'm really tired.
I want to sleep.
I just want to sleep and take some time off, but that's not the way it works.
Yeah, I hear that. And then rewind a little bit more than that. How were you first approached by representation, your manager, label, agents, that kind of stuff?
So for the A&R guy who actually signed us, he was part of a very small indie label in New York. We'd reached out to everybody that was anybody at the time. So your Roadrunners, your, all the big, major distributed labels, but they were considered, I guess, kind of indie also. But they had your Century Medias, your Earache, all those kind of bigger metal specialty labels. They all turned us down because they just didn't know what to do with us. They're like, we don't know kind of what.
You weren't guaranteed.
Yeah, like this is going to take a bit of a gamble because we don't know. First, we don't know how to market you.
Yeah. Because
do we market you to the grindcore guys? Do we market you to how do we, Anyway, so Jason Weiner was the guy that actually signed us. He discovered us. We invited him to see our set, and it was like a showcase, basically. Where was it? The Rivoli, I think, in Toronto. And he came, and we didn't know where he was, but we had an idea that he was there. And he came up, and he was just like beaming from ear to ear. He goes, I just want to say that, first of all, that was fucking incredible. And number two, we are very interested. And so at that point we're like, oh man, this is crazy. Like, what are we doing? And you read about this stuff in like, music biographies from back in the day where you had the A&R guys standing there like, oh, yeah, we want to sign you girls.
Not sketchy at all.
Yeah, not sketchy at all. But it was so amazing. And the entire label was, like I said, it was very small. So they were, they wanted they wanted us to be their kind of big act that they could all have all hands on deck, if that makes sense. And then subsequently they were bought by a bigger company, which gave us even more, and had people like Danny Goldberg behind them. He's like involved with David Geffen and, signed, or I think he managed Nirvana for a while. So he knows his shit. Like I was one of the only people that knew who he was because I had just read Come As You Are, which is the Nirvana biography. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, is that the same guy?
I just read about him. That's so cool.
And it is the same guy. So I was like freaking out. But that was how we got signed. But everything else just kind of was like a complete blur after that.
Yeah, from there it grew. That's it happens. While growing, and also recently, you've probably had some experience delaying launches or releases. This is a painful but necessary process. What's your take?
So it makes me feel bad when it happens. But I think most music consumers are very more understanding of the artistic process, if that makes sense. So it's, like I have a Patreon, for example. So I have people who really and truly, it's a very small group of people, but they really and truly care about the artistic process, and they're interested in how it works. And, how do you approach writing, and how do you, they really, they're just generally much more involved and smarter about the way that it is. And instead of just being like, give me a song like now, because I just need something. And because there's just also, because I think of streaming services and other like avenues for people to put their music out. Music is just so pervasive. There's just so much of it. So people are constantly being, I guess, stimulated by different music. So they aren't necessarily as impatient anymore. Like they just have a lot of music to fill their ears. Yeah. You don't have to be, right? Yeah. And so I feel like people are much more understanding if you're saying, hey, I want to take a little bit more time to actually make this good and whatever. And they're like, yeah, do what you got to do.
Develop the product.
Yeah, develop it. This is all good.
It happens. And sometimes there are unforeseen circumstances that cause.
Like COVID.
Like COVID. That's a very, very real thing. Yes. Yes. I have specifically here one experience was that Amphibious Assault's second album was completed and originally scheduled for a June release, but then it was in August. Is there a story around that?
Oh God, I don't even remember now. Because what's funny about that record is it was, I think I released it, and then because I wasn't really planning on doing anything with it, because of course I was still quite young when it was coming out, and I didn't really do a very good job of being like, these are the milestones that I want to have with the record in terms of, do I want to tour? Do I want to do this? I was just kind of like making it up as I went along, which don't recommend that. So, I mean, it really could have just been like, I just need a little bit more time. It's still good. Like, I didn't really stress about it at the time, whereas I stress about it more now. Because I'm on a schedule here. But I can't recall there being like a big incident or something that I was like, oh God, I have to delay it.
Yeah. Other than COVID.
Other than COVID.
Yeah, no, just joking there. We don't want to talk about the C word.
Yeah.
What's your take on where the music industry is going or bound to go after all of this is happening? After this COVID.
After this C word?
Yeah, we'll address it a little bit.
Okay. So what I think is interesting about this year is that, as I was saying earlier too, the amount of music that has come, like it's overwhelming how many people have used this opportunity to stimulate their creative, it's a stimulating time that we're living in for many, many reasons. So I feel that it's a healthy, burgeoning, like, people are really getting that massaging that creative brain and coming up with all kinds of great records. Like, I don't even know how many bands, like I get emails every time, like I follow certain bands and I get emails every time they send something out. Like everybody's got a record coming out because it's just wild. The perfect fertile ground to create great music. So from here on in, I think I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's it's going to be fertile ground for, I think, at least 2 or 3 years, maybe even more. People just being inspired by change and inspired by challenges as well, personal challenges as well as, we're all kind of weathering the storm together. It's going to ascend to a fever pitch. So I'm super excited to see what comes out.
I think it's going to keep on accelerating as well.
For sure.
Just as you said, more collaborations are going to happen. They're going to be happening more easily. The sound quality is going to become better. All of that, and
100%.
It's going to be a game changer. Perfect. That's What's Your Take.
Yay!
We made it. We got one more. We've got our next segment. Our next segment is called Clear the Air.
Got it.
It's a little freaky. Not so much dancing, but we're here.
Okay.
Oh, to start off, Clear the Air. Essentially, we're just trying to provide more educational background for a lot of the listeners here in Clear the Air. And I like to start this off with, at least for this season, fan questions. Okay. So we've got a question here from Ayana Butterfly, and if you can't hear it, Ayana. We'll repeat it for you. Okay.
Got it.
I read that you used to light candles before the start of every show, but then you stopped since the time you almost started a fire. Can you tell us that story?
Okay. Yes, I can. Thank you for your question. Previously, what I had done was the candle that I had bought was from Bath and Body Works in the US, and it was a glass candle that I had put on top, and it was shaped like a teardrop, like this, but small flat bottom. Like this.
Okay. At
the time, I decided to put it on at the worst possible place, which is on top of my amp. But that particular night, they had, instead of putting they put Talina's bass right beside mine. So the bass was rumbling my head like this, like, and I was looking back and I'm like, oh my God, looking back. And then I could see it kind of like rocking back and forth like this. And so I'm like, oh my God. And I like run over, and it had already tipped over. And then all of the melted wax had gone all over my, I freaked out. Like, no, oh my God.
We're going to stop doing this.
We got to stop doing that. It's just like a total fire hazard. And it's so hilarious that no one, like, I had to be the one saying, like, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. But everybody else is like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But it was my fault, though. I put it on something that was obviously not stable. Like, I mean, if it had been in something that cradled it.
Yeah, a foundation, a solid foundation.
Like, it's fine right beside the base amp. No big deal.
It looks pretty.
So, yeah, not smart.
No.
Yeah, I was a kid. What do you want?
It's fair. You live and you learn.
Yes, indeed.
That's beautiful. Twitch Sings, Patreon, and Discord are all places an artist can generate revenue. Can you clear the air on that?
Okay, so in terms of Twitch, the revenue there, they've made it actually much easier for people to get in on, becoming a Twitch affiliate and Twitch partner. So for Twitch affiliate, you have to have a certain amount of concurrent viewers, which can be difficult depending on, if you're just starting out as a gamer, or if you're an artist or something like that. It's hard to kind of differentiate yourself from everybody else.
Right.
So I tried to push people on my other platforms to try and get them to my Twitch to just come and look and whatever, trying to redirect traffic a little bit. So then not necessarily encouraging people, but saying like, hey, if you want to support the channel, see it grow, that's how you can monetize it. People can subscribe to you once you become a Twitch affiliate. And then they actually added Twitch, like gave for ads, you can also
right
revenue off of that as well.
Yes.
For Twitch Sings, you can't really monetize that so much. It's part of Twitch. It's the same thing.
Like an add-on,
yeah. And then for Patreon, I mean, that's a membership-based business. It's like a whole, like you need to come up with like a business plan and stuff like that. So
you don't just create a Patreon.
No, you can, but you need to have
There's
a
tiers
reason
to
as
it.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, there's tiers. You need to figure out what you're going to be offering. I mean, if you're a musician, that's easy, but do you do it more so every single month you're supporting me? You want to know what you're selling to your people. Like, am I selling you creations per creation, or am I selling you a community, which is how I've set mine up, which is Discord is absolutely vital to that, is having that connection with everybody 24/7 from all over the world. So they love my music, yes, but it's more about creating a community of like-minded people, whether it comes to music, movies, because we always find that we all like my music, or they liked Kittie's music, but we all have a lot in common as people. So
Yeah, we're still
that's
people. Yeah.
how I've created my community. And that's not for everybody, but for me, that's how I've done it.
And would you utilize Discord over, say, email lists?
Yes.
Because it's more intimate.
It's way more intimate. I encourage people to message me, so they can DM me anytime. That can be, I think, a little bit frightening for some artists, because they're like, I don't want to have such like a direct line to my customers or my clients rather all the time. Like that seems, it is a lot of work too, because you're having to do your day job, whatever it may be, and then you've got your music, and then you've got this community that you're nurturing, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, email lists, I still email out blasts and whatnot to people, but I find that it's just easier to announce it in my Discord.
Okay, awesome. And what would you say to young professionals just starting out to build that community?
So I found that it was also pretty good to just talk to friends as well. Like, just get your friends in on it. And that also, like, I had friends come into my Discord sometimes, so we would just kind of stimulate the conversation a bit. I would tell them, like, if you know anybody that wants to watch my Twitch, and I would always plug my Discord as well on the same thing on the streams, to let them know, hey, I've got this. And then I also plan events as well. So we do like movie nights where we'll hang out, we'll watch movies together. So it's really trying to cultivate a community of like-minded people where they'll feel accepted and comfortable. Because some people, what I've found anyways, is that a lot of people don't necessarily, like to talk to people face to face. They really love it's true. They're like, what? I feel so much more comfortable talking to people on Discord or on like in a chat, in a server setting, that they call them servers, but it's really just a chat room. I feel much more comfortable talking to people this way. So it helps me. It makes me feel less alone. And that really resonated with me when somebody said that. I'm like, wow. So you view this not only as a community, but it's a place where you can feel accepted and not judged. And that was like blew my mind.
That's moving. It's very moving. Yeah.
So yeah.
Perfect.
Discord's great. It's great.
Discord,
really
use
great.
it, and it pairs well with the other options there. Okay. You were the recipient of a bursary from Artscape Daniels Launchpad, which is an artist hub that nurtures and develops artists from a wide array of disciplines. Can you tell us what this entailed?
Yes. So it's a great initiative. I believe it's the first year that they've actually done it. And so the way that it works is that they'll give you, like, you apply for it, obviously, and then you say, what project that you're hoping to work on, whether it be something, like a movie, or, you're a photographer, you want to do a certain amount of shoots for whatever, or a video, or if you're a videographer, for example. And in my case, I'm a musician. So I said, I'd like to do my record, and I applied as part of their sound recording section, which is called the Digital Media Lab.
Okay.
So not only is it a sound recording, but it's also your video effects, photography studio, etc. So they have their own sort of cohort which was what I had applied for. But the hub itself has not only that, but you have your 3D printers, your industrial designers, your fashion designers. So yes, it's a place where I'm being able to make my music, but it's also a fantastic, like, what do you call it? Like a think tank where you've got lots of different people from
Incubator.
Incubator. That's the word. Thank you.
Nice.
It's an incubator where you can just say, hey, I'm a musician. I'm looking for somebody to do my video for me. Or, I'd like to collaborate on, the series or a podcast or something where there are other people that we can merge our skill sets.
Right.
So it's fabulous. I've met some fantastic people through it, and I'm so excited to be able to work with them when when it's safe to do so.
That's awesome. Is there somewhere that people can go to apply for this that you know off the top of the head?
Yes. So if you go to Artscape Daniels Launchpad, on their main site, they'll have bursaries. There are different. There's this one, but there's also the RBC Music Entrepreneurship Program. I think that's what it's called, for emerging musicians and music professionals under 35. So that's also something there, but they have a tab at the top, I believe.
Okay, awesome.
Where you can click and see all those.
Listeners, just so you know, we will keep that in the show notes as well, so you don't have to write that down right now.
Okay.
I do also want to ask, we did talk about perhaps not so much struggles or hardships, but your experiences at the beginning of your career. But did you experience anything similar through Amphibious Assaults when you were more on your solo path?
Oh, yeah. The learning curve was... See, it goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning of our chat. Asking questions and knowing how to navigate this industry. I was absolutely green as hell when I left that band, and I didn't know the fundamentals. I was there the entire time, but I never asked questions. Like my curiosity was never peaked. Like I just felt very much like whirlwinded.
Yeah.
So I had to learn everything on my own through books, through talking to people, and then trying to contact people as well. Because again, I like the concept of networking was something that again I didn't do very well at, and so that it was a matter of going back and saying, "Hey, my name is this," and so it was a huge learning curve for me to try and. I mean, I could have learned it at the time, but I didn't.
Yeah,
and
fair.
I regret that. But yeah,
networking is definitely a big issue for a lot of artists, a lot of bands, and even on social media, it's not necessarily so much easier. However, we did have a conversation with another guest. His name is Josh Simons. He's the co-founder of an app called Vamper, and it is about to change the game for musicians. Yeah, VAMPR.me. You download that for free. And I don't like to compare it to this because they don't use it, but it's very similar to Tinder or LinkedIn, whereas you input all of your profile details, and once that is populated, it matches you with other people that are either in your area, in your genre, physically, and it helps the networking process speed up. Check it out.
Ooh,
yeah, absolutely. If you
I
want.
like that. I like that a lot. And because that's the other thing too, is finding people who are actually hungry about, maybe wanting to collaborate and whatnot. Because how many times have I met other musicians who are great and they're super, super, super talented, but they're also doing like 30 other projects, and they're pulled here, there, and everywhere. And that's normal, but it's also hard if we want to make something together and we want to meet every week and create and whatnot, it becomes very hard logistically to do that.
It's really, really tough.
But yeah. So if you have a bigger pool of people, I think.
Yeah.
It's good.
And it's cool too. It's not just musicians and producers. You've got DJs, you've got photographers, you've got managers, agents on this. And with the Pro feature, you can also do distribution and you collect 100% of your royalties. Wild.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Wild. Yes, very cool. We're nearing the end. What is your relationship with Pigface today?
So, like I said, I had done that record. Easy Listening was in 2002, I believe. And I did the 25th anniversary show in 2016.
Okay.
And then I did a show with them last year. So, and then we were going to tour actually this year, but there's that. And so likely that will be next year. And it's just a matter of anytime Martin calls me, it's like, hey, we're doing a tour. What are you up to? And it's just a matter of like, if I'm not in a movie or doing commercials or whatever, then I will book the time off and I'll go in a heartbeat, because there's just something to be said about being on the stage with 30 other people. Like that is a feeling that I've never experienced, because of course we are all used to playing in a band, 4 other people, you know, your bass player, whatever. Never mind that. We got 4 bass players. Oh, you want more drummers? We got 5 drummers.
Come on.
It's insanity, but it's in this big, crazy family from all over the world. And it's I can't explain the feeling that you get when you have like literally a choir of people singing, and they're all just like punks, and like we just love each other, and
everyone's fully in it. Like no one's half-assing.
And we got Randy Blythe from Lamb of God this year, and so I had never met him before. Yeah, and he's just like, Fallon, hey, what's up? And he's like this like legendary metal singer, right? And I'm like, so cool. And he goes, you know, I really love playing with Lamb of God. I love playing with my other projects or whatever, but this project to me is just so special. I've never been part of something like it. And hearing him say that, like, I mean, that's very cool. Carries a lot of weight. It's very cool.
Yes, that's very cool. Awesome. Yeah. Being someone who did the band thing and worked on music on your own, do you believe in partnerships or being a sole proprietor freelancer?
Ooh, good question. I definitely, when I first started this, I loved the, hold on one second. I'll start that again. Definitely when I first started, I loved the fact that I could control everything. But there was really something to be said about when you're playing with somebody and they're just like tinkering. They're just doing something and you're like, what is that? Do that again. What is that? And it ignites you. Yeah. That me tinkering by myself in my little teeny tiny basement in Parkdale, like, is not going to happen necessarily when somebody just sparks my, so whether or not I prefer it, or I think one or the other is better, there's certainly merits either way, but there's certainly something to be said about that magical connection when you have somebody that you work so in sync with, like, oof. Yeah. Love it.
There's a lot that comes through your environment, I've noticed. What advice can you give young professionals entering a band business-wise?
Ooh. Oh my God. Okay. So definitely communication about clarification about goals. Much as this is about creating music and whatever, one day the creeping, not creeping death, that sounds terrible. And I just wanted to use the name of a Metallica song. That the business troll will come out and be like, you have to pay attention to me. And then it could get really sticky if you don't know where the lines are. And it's not really sexy to talk about that kind of stuff. Like, oh, well, you kind of came up with that melody, or maybe it's your song, or I don't know.
Right.
So those lines, I think, need to be very clear in the sand. Like, hey, we're coming into this, and everything that happens in this writing room is going to be ours. Like, we're coming as a unit. Or hey, Lewis, you came in with that song, so it's technically like it's yours. Like, I'm just here adding my little accents, a little ding-dings and whatever.
Yeah.
I just think that it's really important to have those lines drawn in the sand very early on. I feel.
Ahead of time. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I like that. That's a fantastic note. Do you have any final words? I know I asked you a lot of questions. Final general words?
Final general words that's not a plug, or...
Give us the plug. Anything you like.
Okay, so I'm, as Amphibious Assault, I'm working on a record. It will be finished hopefully next week. So it will be out early next year. Okay. That'll be my plug. It is, more information will come as COVID wraps up.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
We will be launching these episodes next year as well, so we can tie it in nicely.
Yes.
We can communicate about that, perhaps.
Beautiful.
And match it up.
Sounds good. Nice.
Where can our listeners find you? Twitch?
All right.
Discord?
So Twitch for sure. I'm there 3 times a week on Thursdays, Fridays, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, and Saturdays at 11 a.m. with the exception of this week. But, and then also on my website, fallonbowman.com, I'm on all, well, not on all socials. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Fallon Bowman, as well as on Facebook as well, which is really just connected to my Instagram. So it's just Instagram.
Is the Twitch a specific handle?
It's just Fallon Bowman again.
Okay, perfect.
At Fallon Bowman.
Beautiful. And we will include all of that in the show notes as well.
Beautiful.
On that note, I want to say thank you to our listeners. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you learned something today. Thank you to our grumpy sound guy. You made us giggle. Yeah. Shout out to Prevail Media Group for the facility, the time, the energy that you put into this. And most importantly, the biggest shout out. Thank you so much, Fallon, for being here with us tonight. We out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening. If you found any value in this episode and you want to learn more from our content, check out our website at goproduce.ca. If you're on Instagram, check out our handle at go.produce. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, hit download. If you're on Apple Music, leave a review. This will all help us grow our community. I'm Big Lou, and this is Go Produce.